Alright, people, so I want to touch on China's death here. I'm not going to go out and say, oh, it's so sad. I mean, it is sad, but, I'm going to use this to talk about the fact that wrestlers, particularly, maybe all wrestlers, this is the fact, but I think mostly WWE wrestlers die early because they're so overworked. And this is a sad result of the amount of stress, the amount of physicality, the amount of work dates put on these wrestlers. I mean, if you look at WWE, they always say, "Oh, they go 300 days a year." They never get to see their families. They're always on the road, and that's not only physically taxing. We all know that is. I mean, you always hear them saying, "Oh, I'm sore." I've got injuries and shit. And it's physically taxing, but it's also mentally taxing too, because like I said, you're away from your family. You're on the road all the time. You're probably not, doing the things you want to do on the. I mean, if you're on the road, you're driving. I mean, that can't be fun. So therefore, a lot of these wrestlers will go to painkillers because they have to, they want to keep wrestling, and they'll turn to these drugs that'll they'll get addicted, or they'll be on roids, and to cope, I guess, with all the stress, they'll turn to some really bad drugs. And my position is to make it where there's only one Raw per week. That's the only show WWE has. I mean, all these other shows like Superstars, Main Events, SmackDown, I mean, they're totally pointless. I mean, yeah, maybe they make the company a few bucks. I don't even know. Maybe they don't make them any money at all. But get rid of them. They're totally pointless, and just focus on one show. And it's not only the thing to do that I think will bring the company more money, because I think Raw would be better if you just focused on one show. You could have the creative team focus on one show only. You could have the wrestlers focus on one show only. They're more rested for the show. They're going to perform better morale. It's not only I think it'll make the company money, and even if it didn't, it's the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. People, Vince has to do, to make money. I mean, your character is not measured by the amount of money you have. It's measured by, your actual character, how you act, how you treat others. And it's just wrong to put these wrestlers through, these unbelievably high amounts of work and stress, and it's just unnecessary. Like I said, and I think it would make the company more money if they did it, and also get rid of the live events too. The live events are such a burden and are so ridiculous. I think it's time to get rid of those. But it's a shame to see these wrestlers who fall prey to this unbelievably high workload in WWE. And yeah, I mean it's sad to see Chyna die. I was watching parts of her YouTube video she posted 3 days before her death. She looked like a fucking shitstorm. I mean, she looked awful. She had to. I'm like 95% sure she probably died of a drug thing. Drugs were probably involved because she has had drug problems in the past. And we're talking about, and I'm glad WWE put some YouTube videos up of her. They didn't ignore her death. I mean, it's pretty hard to ignore it, but and a lot of people talk about the Hall of Fame. I think you should induct Chyna into the Hall of Fame, because if you look at the shit that has happened before with all these other famous wrestlers like Michaels, Kevin Nash, Road Dogg, it's like, okay, we all know those wrestlers have done some pretty fucked up drugs. We always hear stories about shit that goes down in the locker rooms and behind the scenes, and bullying of the younger wrestlers, and shit. And hardcore wrestling fans know about that shit. It's just it's not well known to the general public. Like if you ask the general public, I mean, a lot of people would know who Shawn Michaels was, but I'm sure not a lot of people would know that he, did have problems with, drug shit, but that's out in the open. It's just not many people know about it. But with Chyna, I mean, it's kind of, more out there that she did a porn. She did have some problems with drugs. But, like I said, pretty much a lot of people who are in the Hall of Fame or who were wrestling for Vince back in the day did a lot of fucked up shit. So, we shouldn't be judging people really based on things that... And that's the thing, too. What Chyna did only hurted herself. Drugs. She's only hurting herself. The porn thing. She didn't hurt anybody. She didn't harm anybody in any way. So, and now she's dead. So I think it's, time to find... you could maybe understand... I can kind of see where Vince might be coming from. You don't want somebody who was in a porno to, be in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, she's dead now, so really all that shit is now, it's kind of irrelevant. It's past. It should not be really considered anymore. I get if she murdered somebody or, tried to hurt somebody, that's a totally different thing. But again, these things she didn't really hurt anybody else, so I don't see why we shouldn't induct her into the Hall of Fame. I don't get this. Vince McMahon is a fucking cheater on his wife. He's a fucking guy who took steroids. So don't, that's very ironic that Chyna doesn't get inducted for her porn and her drug problems, but Vince, on the other hand, has had many skeletons in his closet. Oh, but that's all right, because he, for whatever reason. See, it's a fucking double standard right there. So, but yeah, like I was talking about, you see so many wrestlers, and it's so sad to see these guys who were once, great. They were on TV, they were having a great time, and now they're like fucking crippled, or they're dying, at a young age. And it's sad. But a lot of that is, again, because of the overworking of the superstars by Vince McMahon. And they keep adding more and more shit to their product every week. It's like, oh, now we got this, now we got main event, now we got this, now we got that, now we got an extra hour of Raw. And it's so much now. They used to have the brand split, now they don't. And that, again, causes physical, mental, emotional stress to these wrestlers, which, leads to only horrible things. So make it one Raw per week, and that's it. No live events, no SmackDown, no main event, and just have a 2-hour Raw per week. I mean, that's fucking plenty. If you had a 2-hour Raw per week, that's probably the show that is, if you look at a course of a year, if Raw was on for 2 hours a week, that's probably the show that's going to occupy most time throughout the whole year out of any show on television. Excluding sports, I guess, but if you consider all NBA games, together, but or NFL, whatever. But I mean, it's high time we reduce the workload of these wrestlers because they're working them literally to death. They're working them to death. So Chyna dies at age 45 or 46. Really young death, and it's fucking sad to see that happen, and and again, we all have our past problems too, don't let Vince McMahon or Triple H stand up there on a high horse and say, oh, we're gonna dictate who and who is in the Hall of Fame because of their past problems, and it's like, really, you're gonna fucking not put. Not talk about Chyna or not, make her return, or ignore her, just because of her problems, which didn't hurt anybody else. And of course, she shouldn't really be. Drugs are horrible, and when it comes to porn, I mean, again, Vince McMahon is a fucking cheater on his wife. You know, so it's pretty. It's kind of like the same thing there. You know, China did a porn. It's actually worse cheating on your wife than doing a porn because porn is both people consented. The fucking cheating on your wife. Obviously, Vince's wife didn't want that to happen. And she would have probably have left him if he didn't have millions of dollars. But there you go, people. I think I've talked enough. I think I got my point across. So what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And yeah, what do you think of Chyna's death here? You know, should WWE reduce its workload or not? You know, are you for these wrestlers, you know, fucking dying at young ages or not? I mean, that's pretty much like the cause of this heavy workload in WWE. So there you go, people.